welcome to this live session on harnessing the opportunities of conversational marketing on social media. Social media has become quite a trend in India for Gen Z, Gen X both. Be it love, education, money, career, shopping, culture, sports, entertainment, health, finances, one cannot imagine life without it. With consumers spending so much time on these platforms, brands are seeing it as a golden opportunity to reach and engage with their target audience, to increase their brand visibility and boost their engagement rates. This has led to the evolution of social commerce. And make no mistake, pandemic gave a huge push to this social commerce. According to a recent report, social commerce stood at $2 billion in India. And at the end of 2020, it is projected to reach $20 billion by 2025. With roughly 1 billion monthly active users, Instagram is one of the most popular social networks worldwide. According to reports, 83% of Instagram users discover new products and services on the platform. Today, many brands are leveraging Messenger API for Instagram that is helping them make their conversations with customers richer, more contextual, and personalized. Organizations are perfecting their sales strategy on Instagram by integrating direct messages into brands' existing sales and support processes, helping them to generate sales, answer customer queries at scale, and even improve customer experience. So now, let us hear from the industry stalwarts on how they are using Instagram as a sales channel and how they think that Messenger API for Instagram can help play a key role in scaling their business. I welcome my panelists for the day. My first panelist for the day is Mr. Dipanshu Manchanda, founder and CEO, Zapfresh. Welcome, Dipanshu.
Hi, Devesh.
Glad, Dipanshu. My next panelist for the day is Mr. Ravi Sundarajan, Chief Operating Officer, Gupshup. Welcome, Ravi.
Hi, Devesh. Good to meet you all.
Thank you. My next panelist for the day is Ms. Rumi Ambasta, Director Brand Marketing, The Man Company. Welcome, Rumi.
Hi, Devesh, and good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon, Rumi. My next panelist for the day is Ms. Soumya Kant, co-founder, Clovia. Welcome, Soumya.
Hi, everyone.
And my final panelist for the day is Mr. Udit Mediratta, CMO, Homelane. Welcome, Udit.
Thanks a lot, Devesh, and nice to meet you all.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for joining today. My first question to all of you is, how is Instagram evolving as a sales channel for, in your category? Let me begin with Dipanshu first.
So we started our business in 2015. We are doing about 4,000 orders a day. We are present in Delhi NCR. We have a small community of customers. About 100,000 total customers are registered with us, and we do transacting customers about 40,000 on a monthly basis. So there is a significant level of traction which we've built in the few years. And for us, social media plays a very critical role overall. Whether it is Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, we try to be present and engaging our customers in all the platforms. And I think what we've seen is that each platform has a different set of behavior. So where we see Twitter, more like a customer complaint service center where people are escalating and telling their concerns. Instagram is more about inquiry and activation and acquisition of the customer for us. So just like that, each channel has a certain objective in our mind and the behavior. And mainly, if you talk about Instagram, we believe that having a online commerce enabled as a channel on Instagram is something which is very relevant, just like Google, where there is more traction expected. And the way we do it is we have in-house team members and also agencies who operate these channels on our behalf and continually engage customers on information about the product and also upselling the new product. So that's largely our modus operandi for specifically if you mention about Instagram.
Soumya, let's come to you on this one. How has it evolved as a sales channel? How has social media platforms and especially Instagram evolved as a key sales channel for your brand?
Uniquely, we started back in 2015 when these channels were also growing, and hence we've sort of evolved together as a platform and as a brand. Social media collectively has always been a bigger part of our performance marketing. It also helps us immensely in brand building. So our brand stands for joy. Everything that we do stands for joy. So on our social media, specifically on Instagram, our content is not so product driven. We don't push the product. We push joy. So, we do a lot of memes, we do a lot of fun content. Even if you're not able to solve a customer's problem that they face in daily life, we're at least celebrating it with them by having fun. So, social media has not just helped us on the revenue front, but also the brand building part. And it plays a pivotal role in our journey.
Interesting. You touched upon two very interesting subjects. A, content is the king, and B, whether social media as a channel is used for brand marketing or it should be used for performance marketing. Coming to you on this, Rumi, for the Man Company, how has social media and especially Instagram evolved as a key sales channel?
So let's first look at the entire world of social media. Okay, so Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, definitely each one of them come with their own challenges and their own positives as well at the same time. While Instagram, I think, is like a beautiful amalgamation of everything that is right with social media. While Twitter, you might, I don't know, maybe it's because of how it has come to happen. There's a lot of hate happening there. While YouTube, you will go for a lot of longer content, but who has the time? I think for male grooming as a category, which is still so niche and so nascent, most of my audience is on Instagram. So for us, from TMC's perspective, Instagram would be the platform for which we spend most of our time, energy, devising strategies, everything, because it gives you everything. It gives you performance, it gives you paid ads, it gives you reels, it gives you 24-hour quick stories, which you can very intelligently use with the swipe ups, the clicks, influencers. That becomes a huge role. So what we're essentially doing is trying to create lifestyle grooming content. And I am going to resonate here what Soumya was also mentioning, that on Instagram, the idea is never to push your product. It's never about ye raha beard oil, ye kharid lo. It's never about that. It's always about what does that signify. So you tell them that, whether you're a bearded guy or whether you're a clean shaven guy, for TMC, it does not matter. For me, what matters is that, you look perfect just the way you are, and the products that you will need in order to look your best, to present the best version, I have that. So those are the kind of content that you generally build on stories, on reels, and you keep them in highlights, you keep collecting testimonials. Those are the ways that you keep coordinating with them. And in that sense, Instagram is like perfect space for content to commerce, right? It's beautiful because of shopping nature that is also enabled, which is not in your face. Because when you're seeing a particular content, it just comes very naturally and natively and organically. So then it does not become like, acha, you have come to my handle, let me sell you something. It does not come across like that. So that's the beauty. I think Instagram is beautiful in that sense.
Yeah. And obviously, people are in a very different zone. They are, obviously the intent for purchase is definitely there, but they are seeking more content. They are willing to see more and more new things on Instagram. What others are doing, how others are looking, and what are their experiences based on that. Udit, how do you see social media channels, and especially Instagram, evolving as a key platform for sales?
Absolutely. I think it's an absolutely essential platform for a category such as ours. So basically, we have a very long purchase journey, right? So we're selling home interiors. The average sort of ticket price is 7-8 lakhs for us. Right. And typically for customers, the journey is closer to between 6 to 12 months, right? So it's a really long purchase journey. And, it's a great place, Instagram, social media more broadly, but specifically Instagram, because of the match it has with our audience. It's a great place for us to start the conversation with them. Okay. Right. So there's a lot of discovery. There's a lot of education that is required as you embark on your interiors journey. And I think Instagram, just being the visual medium, it is the snackable medium that it is. It just allows us to start that conversation early and builds that relationship with a potential customer. right? So, and again, I think I already spoke to the fact on the match of the TG, we are focused on urban millennials who don't necessarily have the time, who don't necessarily want to put in that effort of working with a carpenter or contractor or the hassle that comes with it. So, and we find our TG to be obviously, significantly present on Instagram. So I think those are a couple of the reasons we're seeing a change happening. The longest time we were very focused on search, getting higher intent audiences, and obviously tended to be more efficient. But over the last few quarters, what we've realized is the combination of the two actually is a lot more effective for us to sort of not generate leads, but also finally convert them to orders for us. So I think that's kind of like the third big insight, the combination approach rather than an exclusive channel approach. Yeah,
I think it's a great insight because, people are now, social media platforms have become more like a discovery platforms and more like the search platforms. You see a lot of things. So this overall combination of, search and seeing on social media platforms, it's very interesting. Ravi, you work with brands, across the globe, in multiple countries. So how, in your opinion, have the social media channels, evolved as key sales channels, especially Instagram?
Yeah, I think, the thing that, we serve multiple kind of social media channels, as you mentioned, and Instagram, we've been working with them for the last 3 months and several brands. The key thing about Instagram is, 90% of the Instagram users actually follow a brand. And the reason is, not only Instagram allows sponsored posts and stories, but you also can create a brand profile on Instagram that people will follow. And it's very natural to have these story mentions and replies and comments on posts, and even go on Instagram live to kind of do private replies, and then using DMs and stories. You can do a lot more. So it goes back to the whole thing about the trend that we have seen, especially in emerging markets over the last 2 years. With the pandemic, I think personalization has become very important. And I think the common thing that was mentioned by Soumya and Dipanshu and Rumi and Udit was, it's all about organic product discovery, enabling people to personalize their journeys. So when consumers come, they're saying, okay, I don't want one size fits, especially when you're doing remote and you have the ability to interact. And when you come to a store, you don't have it depends on the associate you get, depends on the crowd around you and all the stuff and how much time you have. Whereas you're sitting at home, you're able to really interact and figure out, do a lot on product discovery, ask questions, mentions, replies. All those things happen very naturally. So there's several brands, about a dozen brands have gone live with us using Instagram, and they've kind of, what they've done is product discovery, where helping customers find the right products via some of these, selecting options to explore products, and chatbot showcases are wearing products with rich carousels and cards, and stuff like that. So I think you can choose the right product with the right details to make the right purchase. And then you also create personalized shopping experiences by product recommendations, because people don't know. They just come and say, I want to look at things, and they stumble into product recommendations, and they select relevant subcategories. They chat, sharing personalized with other people to share product recommendations, which becomes much more engaging. And you can also do click to Instagram DM and so on and so forth. So I think it's a very easy channel, especially for things like conversational commerce and conversation product discovery. But because Instagram is all about conversations, short snippets, and then you go and discover, right? So it makes personalization and discovery leading to personalization and very targeted and contextual information sharing much more easier for various brands, especially D2C brands that are going after people, the target group that's more active on social media.
Interesting. So, Soumya, I mean, what is the consumer journey, on Instagram, for your brand?
For us, Instagram is the interest part of awareness, interest, a desire, and action. Given the visual medium that it is and the visual hooks that it has, we're able to sort of generate interest and then have them come on the website and interest them further to sort of get an action out of them. So for us, the customer journey starts with Instagram as a awareness, as a interest and desire, and the action actually happens later, sort of within a month, when we go back and tell them, oh, you looked at this, did you like it? Do you want to see it again? So on and so forth. Yeah.
Okay. And Dipanshu, in your case, I mean, like, what's the customer journey like on the Instagram?
It's basically discovery which happens on Instagram, and where we do sponsored content to bring awareness to the customer in terms of our benefits of the product and how they can go through buying the product. Mainly our user base is mobile, so a lot of our content is mobile, web, and app. So Instagram is a main channel for us in terms of acquisition. So that's broadly, discovery is the main thing, and then inquiries pertaining to the product and the service. That's broadly what it is. Yeah.
And then what's the duration of this entire journey, like, from interest to the next level in your case?
It's generally within 24 hours. What we see that customer inquires in the day, and then they place the order by the evening, something like that.
Okay. So, Udit, as we spoke, I mean, like, that you have, recently started experimenting with the conversational commerce, on Instagram. So, how are the first reactions, to that, and, what has been your experience, till now on that front?
We're just starting off on that journey, actually, honestly, because, we are a company that's about personalization, right? So for the longest time, we were still very human dependent. Also, there tends to be a lot of questions, clarifications. Like I was saying, interiors is a complicated category to sort of transfers, right? So we just depended a lot more on humans, a lot more on our sales teams and consultants to provide those to that information, clarification, whatever else, to customers. But as we scale, and as we desire to be 24/7, we realize the need for some of these solutions. We also see that from a technology perspective, conversational AI, also chatbots to a certain extent are improving and can sort of solve for a complicated category like us. Right. So we are not as simple as, hey, 4 shoes, you like them, don't like them, buy them, get them in blue, So I think, but with technology evolving, we definitely see a lot of potential to sort of get there. And honestly, I think it's a scale thing. We're not able to scale already leveraging just sort of humans. So we have to go that route. Yeah.
Okay. So what has been the experience in your case, in the Man's company case, Rumi? I mean, what has been the experience, by deploying the chatbots on, Instagram? How does it help the brand?
So with the Man company, the major problem is that male grooming is a very nascent category. Though you might understand the importance of grooming, but the idea here is to educate people why you actually need it. You might know as a thought, yes, grooming is necessary and it'll make me look beautiful, it'll make me feel confident. But that shift of actually knowing and actually going and buying is where all our effort goes in creating that education, in creating that awareness of, yes, take that leap with us, and then there won't be any looking back. Because for years and years, men have been using very basic things, but this whole regime based concept, it does not come very easy, and that's where there's so much of education that goes, and there is so much of help that we have to provide, whether it's through chatbot or through human interactions, because the questions are very basic. The questions that we get are things like, what do you think my skin type is? So something from a women's perspective, which you might feel that is so basic, men come and ask us that questions. A 15-year-old boy would probably DM us saying that, hey, I'm not getting beard. Should I worry? And we have to tell him, hey, relax, you're 15. Can you chill out? Wait for some time, it'll happen. And even if it doesn't, it's fine. I mean, how does it matter? How is beard related to, you being a man or not? So the education is a lot more layered, while the product is very simple. What you're selling is very simple. But because there's not a lot of awareness and education about it. So then it becomes a complicated process of making them understand from their type to the ingredient of the product to which should you actually buy, and when you're buying it, how you're actually supposed to use it. While women would very easily understand what you're supposed to do with a sheet mask, there is a lot of education that has to go in making men understand what is the difference between a peel off mask and a sheet mask and a mud mask and all of that, while we have all those products. But yes, I think that's the effort, and that's the complication. I mean, it's both goes hand in hand.
And
And definitely the way that we're using bots, we have to train it a lot, because the questions that come in are so layered that somewhere you start missing the human touch of it, and you don't want the other person to feel that you're talking to a robot, right? I mean, shouldn't that be the end goal anyway?
Correct. Dipanshu, in your category, I mean, Rumi mentioned that, you have to train the bot, and, so that the questions can be answered in a, right manner, in the layered manner. So, when the questions come, I mean, is there a language quotient also that plays a very key role in this? Because, we are a country of, multi-diversity, Hindi, Kannada, multiple languages are there. Okay. So how does it work in your category?
I think it's a matter of a target group, which the product, is very resonating with. Vernacular is a very important aspect to, I think, overall all the business segments, various categories. But I think in our case, we have a TG which is more English speaking for the time being, at least, considering we are only in Delhi NCR. If we move to new locations, then I think that will be more applicable. Where, because in Delhi NCR, North Indians are fairly okay with the Hindi English kind of a thing. So that's not really a factor much. But when we move out and expand and become more pan India, then I think language will absolutely hold a lot of relevance, because different geographies will have different language speaking community. So I think that is a critical part. In fact, we will adopt an option to also change language on our platform. So we think that it's critical, depending upon what your target group is. So that's what it is. Yeah.
Interesting. So, Soumya, Clovia has been there for a very long time, in the market, and the brand recall and the brand resonance is also very high. So, have you, in your experience with the bots, I mean, have you seen this focus on vernacular? How do you deal with when these questions come, and what are the kind of questions that you receive, on the chatbots? Rumi mentioned some very interesting pointers. So, we're more than happy to hear on your side, on the Clovia side also.
So our product is very unique when it comes to the category. So most women don't know their sizes. So a lot of questions we get are around, do you know what my size is? Can you just assess it if I send you a picture? Or can you just, I wear 105 centimeter, can you figure out my cup size? So those kind of questions we get, and we redirect that to our fit test tool, which has really helped a lot of women understand what their sizing is. What it does is it basically gets you to answer a few questions about your current fit, about how to measure your size, so on and so forth, and then suggests the right fit. The other type of interesting questions that we get are from men, that I want to gift lingerie to or nightwear to my partner in life, and how do I go about it? So for that, we launched a tool called Bra Bro. So we tell them to land there and answer a few questions, suggest them how to find out the correct sizing, etc., and then shop for their partners. In terms of vernacular content, specifically on Instagram, we realized that when we were doing more, nationwide kind of influencer programs, they were not working that well. But when we went more deep and we started to do vernacular content, we started to do micro influencers who are, catering to a specific region, that worked really well for us. In terms of the chatbot also, I feel that while a majority of the questions can be handled by the messenger itself, and it should not need human intervention as such, I also feel that our nation is a bit too wide, and every 100 miles the country changes, the culture changes, the preferences change, the language changes. Given that, I think it will take a little bit of hand holding for each kind of category that we have, each kind of product that we have, to tailor and to custom the questions that we're getting from the customers. But eventually, we should come to a point where human intervention is less than 5-7%.
Interesting. Ravi, do you concur with Soumya's view where, there can be a situation where the bot can handle the entire end-to-end conversation and the human intervention would be reduced? Because what I hear and, from most of the brands is that, at some stage, a human intervention is required. How does it work, Ravi?
Yeah, the ideal goal is to have minimal human intervention, but one of the requirements for Instagram bot is that you need to have agent to bot handover. And initially, when we started, especially 3-4 months ago, when brands started using that, I think there was a lot more handover because it takes time to train the bot, as mentioned here. And then later on, it depends on the use case that you have. If it's just simple auto responders that you're sending to some typical product queries that you're doing, that bot can easily handle it. But if there are a lot of questions, as Soumya mentioned, about sizing and a whole bunch of other deeper personalized product queries, then there might be some time you need to have 10% handover to a live agent. Sometimes it gets better. But I think typical use cases like people click on a DM or a story, and from there they've done everything. They know what they want. They can go to a conversational bot that will tell you, okay, this is the that based on what you are, this is what the product is. Then they can immediately go and then click on it and actually purchase it, right? So that becomes much more easier. But I think it depends on the type of thing. Sometimes if it's a lot of product discovery and a lot of personalized questions and something like that, but then I think you need to have human intervention. So it depends on that. But I think if you're leveraging AI for just a simple AI chatbot to do autoresponders and for product inquiries, or click to Instagram DM and then stuff like that, selecting what product you want and you can select it and do it, then becomes much more easier.
Interesting. So we are gonna see, at some point of time, where there'll be a minimal human intervention and a larger part of the conversation can be handled by the bot.
Right. And especially there are quite a few people who get more sophisticated, depends on the users. There are actually quite a few people there. Of the billion users, 500 million people log on and 150 million people interact with brands on Instagram. Right. So as they get more sophisticated, then things get easier.
Right. So ladies and gentlemen, right now we are, entering, we are starting a poll on your screen. Okay. So the first question will be there, on the screen, and, we request you to, click on the answers that you present. Can we have the first question? Yeah. So the first question is, do you currently use Instagram to engage with your customers? Time for the second poll question. Can we have it on the screen? Do you think instant messaging apps could drastically improve customer experience? Please share your answers, yes or no. Thank you for sharing your responses. Now, can we have the third and the final poll question? So the question is, would you like to talk to a Gupshup expert on how the industry has leveraged chatbots and messaging? So Dipanshu, let's start the second phase of the discussion with you. Okay. How are these bots, in your opinion, creating a seamless and, how do I say, a trust for customers on Instagram? In your experience, how do these bots create the overall experience to be seamless?
So I think this is activation-led behavior For example, if let's say you want to enable a particular service, again, in our case, it's a product, so it may not be relevant, but I'm just stating an example here that, for example, if you have a credit card and you don't have a service enabled on your credit card, and then you want to enable that, and you request for it probably in an SMS in a link format, it redirects you to a window. In that window, you just click a toggle, which activates it or deactivates it, and that's it. So there is, I think, the time which is consumed where you have to talk to the guy, make him understand. So it's more simplified, target and action oriented behavior, which one can do, from a customer standpoint. It acts and helps a lot, in order to get what it needs to happen in a faster way, rather than waiting for it. So I believe that, in the day we are living today, the way we are, less and less patient about getting, what we want from the customer service guys. And even customer service guys are dependent on a lot of different operational needs of interdepartment needs, where they have to go check and do everything. So some of the most common behaviors can be captured and, put it in a form which is simplified for the customer. I think that's the best used case in our scenario. Another case is that, considering we don't have order tracking as of now enabled in our app, so if a customer needs to know where is my order, that understanding can also happen automatically through Instagram or any other messaging service, where you can track the order, through just whoever wants to know, we will send them the tracker on those messaging platforms. So these are some of the used cases in my mind.
Interesting. Soumya, in your category, I mean, like, how do you create a, seamless experience and trust for the customers, on Instagram, and how does the bots help in that?
Bots cannot really they've not helped us create trust. The trust comes from the content that we're posting every day, the feed, what it looks like, how humans have interacted with customers so far. So the trust comes from that. How the bots have helped us is that majority of the questions can be answered via bots. And it has helped us sort of transition from that human intervention. And in terms of trust, I think once the bot sort of evolve and it starts to take learning from, the thousands of millions of questions that we've answered already, it starts to pick up really human answers. And hence, that sort of translates to customer trust.
So it's basically, reducing the turnaround time that helps in creating a seamless experience. And it's also self-evolving, where it's able to pick the human conversations and reply to the customers in the most familiar fashion that builds the most seamless experience for the customers.
Right.
Rumi, coming to you, how are you, using the Messenger API, the Instagram Messenger API, to personalize the overall experience for the customers?
So for Instagram, Devesh, currently we still do human intervention is what is taking care of it. Okay. We are not that bot dependent, at least not on Instagram. Yes, there are bots for the other messaging apps, but Instagram, because we do have an in-house CRM team, right? And they take care of all the bulk of questions that come in. So this could range from whether it is plain inquiry about a product, and whether it is about tracking of any orders that has already been placed, because you can't really control where the customer is gonna come and ask you question, to at what level, because they could also be buying on offline, right, at any of my exclusive brand outlet or any of the MT in the country, but they might just come on Instagram DM and ask me a question about something that happened in Indore. You can't really control that. So in those sense, because again, the business is so dynamic that most of it is taken through human intervention. I think At least in men's grooming, we haven't reached that stage yet where the bot can be made intelligent enough to handle such moving parts and so dynamic it is. Like, I do concur with what Ravi was saying, that yes, it might happen, in the future, but I don't believe that, at least not in my category, because it's not that simple like ordering food. You want biryani, and then what are the questions that you will have? You will have a simple question like, hey, my food is late, or I want my refund. The questions are pretty standard, in that sense, right? But grooming, you need a human intervention. You need somebody over there asking, because you are inquiring a lot and you're buying less, currently, because
Correct.
most of the time is just going understanding that, do I really need this, and why do I need this, and how do I use this, and where do I get it, and all of that. Right. So I think at least my category, I could say that we are more in that stage where human intervention is of utmost importance for now.
So the trust in your category is, more created with the human intervention, because they need to hear somebody
Yes.
who's giving them in, talking about, listening to their experience and answering them in what they want to preferably hear around that.
Exactly. So it's like talking to your salon guy. Okay. You
Yeah.
trust your salon guy, because generally, if you know a barber, you're not going to change that barber unless you change your city. You might just travel for hours because you know that barber knows the kind of haircut I like. So you don't experiment. It's the same. So people, when they are coming to TMC, the kind of, like-minded gentlemen, like we like to call it, that we have created, they trust us, and they do have a lot of questions. A lot of times we also get, uh, you know, product ideas. They come and tell us that, hey, you know what, you have this, why don't you launch that? And we take that into account. And how else will that happen if there is no human interaction at the other end? Because you don't believe that this is the kind of question somebody is going to come and ask you, right? Even if you have a lot of line items and tabs, that what are the kind of questions one might ask, you'll never think that somebody's going to come and say that, hey, I want to give you an idea about a new product that you should launch,
True.
right? And Instagram Pay, the kind of family that we have built, these people are like our mirror. They come and tell us good things, bad things, help us when some PR nightmare is about to happen. The kind of micro influencers and A plus and B level influencers that we have worked with, it's like a family, right?
Correct.
So it's difficult to have a robot on the other side.
Correct. Correct. Ravi, would you like to answer, Rumi, on this point? I mean, like, how to, how bots can, take on such complex categories? Because Rumi stated, like, some very, very on-ground problems which are there, and it's not like, whether my food is late or not. I mean, like, has it left the kitchen or not? So it's more and more complex, about men's grooming. So.
Right. I think in the initial stage, what she's saying is right. You want to build your database, you want to build your followers, and you want to build your knowledge base, right? Or the type of questions they ask. Once you have a set knowledge base and you have a good following, then you say that, hey, it looks like the team that I have is answering these repeated questions again and again. So maybe it'll be 20% initially, then 30%. So those things can be automated. And also the early stage, you're creating information, creating trust. After that, you say, okay, these are the type of things I want to promote a story about grooming, right? And the typical things from that is that I want to create some product interest and figure out who are the ones who are interested in what type of categories, grooming categories, and so on and so forth. Then you may create a story or have a DM. Then you integrate with an API into a simple bot, right? Which is just simple thing, answer these 4 or 5 questions, right? And then as you start selling more products, they will also have simple queries like ordering a biryani. They'll say, hey, like I was in a panel with Nika, and they were saying, even though everything is physical and they don't want to do anything automated, but the simple thing they want to do, what they do is when people search for a Nika store using Google search, they use one application. We said that is they really thought of using Google Business Messages for is you can immediately direct to the store and say, hey, I'm coming to your store. Do you have this in stock availability, right? So if you have a bunch of stores, they will say, no, this is not here. Don't come to the store, because otherwise what they'll do is they will travel to the store. They'll waste the salesperson's time. They will be upset. The salesperson will be upset, and then they don't have the product that they want, right? So simple things like in-stock availability or even order tracking, right? If they have already ordered something from the man company and they're saying, I don't want to ask somebody where the order is. When they get into a commerce stage, they'll say, I want to check where the order or rebuy, right? But I know the customer knows what they want. They're just coming to buy something again or recommend it to someone else. those all things can be automated. So it depends on different life cycle you are. In the early stages, you want to do a lot of things manually, build your following, build trust, build your knowledge base. And then you can say, hey, now I'm in a different phase of growth where I can't scale, I can't keep adding. So the big thing is nobody starts a business to serve just a few hundred customers, 1,000 customers, right? You want to, your business wants to be so widely successful that you want to serve millions of customers in India, then maybe, around the world and so on and so forth. So once you get to that scale, you have to kind of automate some of these things and make it much more easy for people to come in and grow with you, right? So it depends on the stages of phase you are, the stages of growth that you're in, and you apply different tools. Sometimes some of Instagram may not be the right thing, it may be something else, but it depends on where you are. But the thing about Instagram is it is very, if people have a huge brand following, especially for kind of D2C thing, 90% of them follow a brand. They like to talk about it. They like to, organically understand, and it's more conversational. And social media, where you look at influencers, you look at others, what they're doing, get more information. Discovery and stuff is very important. So I think, yeah, so that's kind of where the bots can help.
Interesting. So Udit, how do you envisage, using these bots for, to building the trust, to answering the customer queries? Because, the life cycle of your customer is approximately, as you mentioned, is a good 6 to 9 months. Okay. So, how does it work in your category? I mean, is the there are repeated questions by the unique customers on, they're solving their queries one after another, and then they go on to the purchase part? How does it work?
Yeah, so I think some of the benefits, because we're considering it potentially, one is immediacy, right? So which is obviously a big benefit that we see. Right now, our turnaround times are obviously human-led, so it's much slower. So that is important to be able to sort of respond as soon as possible to customers, potential customers. The second thing is we do get, again, given it's a complicated category, like Soumya mentioned and Rumi mentioned their categories too, I think we do get a lot of informational requests, right? Which actually can be templatized, right? So it doesn't require too much to respond. Like people would ask advantages of a modular kitchen over a normal one, or, like one kind of a wardrobe over another. So I think those things we can definitely address, and a bot can sort of come in and solve for them. So the nurturing sort of visitors, I think, is definitely something we can do. Definitely immediacy is a big opportunity for us. I think the third is capturing leads. When customers are lower in the funnel, they've already kind of made up their mind that they want to get interiors done. And now they just really want you to call them, I think at that point in time, the immediacy that it allows you to capture that lead really quickly, right? So I think, which is another one, which is a big benefit for us. I think customer service, I think it is, sometimes customers do air complaints on Instagram, but we are usually, with our existing customers, we are in touch on WhatsApp, we are on, groups with them together. So it doesn't happen so much. Customer service is not a big opportunity, but it is definitely another place where we can ensure that we are available to answer any sort of clarifications, complaints that the customers might have, right? So it's important, hence, from that perspective.
Okay. And Dipanshu, coming to you from what Udit mentioned. So are these bots giving you some really hot leads? I mean, what are the kind of leads that you're kind of generating from with the help of these bots?
We are mostly, using it for, customer concerns and complaints and statuses. So delivery status is the most common thing which we get. So our major use case is that, rather than, I would say, acquisition. Acquisition is still very little of the use case for us. So inquiries and customer concerns is what generally it is helping us with. Because in our case, the product is, fairly, simple. There's a chicken you want to order, you just go, you buy, and you just have some questions around the product. So it's most likely grievances and interactions.
Okay. Soumya and Rumi, in your case, I mean, are the leads that are being generated by, with the help of these bots, are these, quite hot leads? Soumya, you can start. Rumi, I'll come to you next.
No, so for us also, it's more to resolve queries to, like I said, Instagram is more interest generator for us, and bots don't help in that. Bots only help in resolving that query. In some cases, transitioning between interest and desire or desire to action. However, the prime thing that a bot does for us is query answering. It is not an acquisition tool for us as of now, and it's not really driven any acquisition for us.
Rumi, in your case, in the TMC's case?
I think in TMC's case, it works in two ways. Number one, like I said, that we don't use a bot on Instagram, but yes, there are other social media platforms, WhatsApp, where we use bots, but it's mostly about, grievances that, I've ordered this product, where has it reached? Can you track them? It's mostly about that. It's not much about where they are still at the intent sort of a stage. But leads, hot leads, I think that would only happen during major occasions. Okay, so whether it is Valentine's Day or Father's Day or Diwali time, Rakhi, I think those are the times when actually this might take like a upswing. But otherwise, overall basis, it's more about just grievances and how you take care of that through bot. That's it.
Okay. So Ravi, this question is for you. Okay. Across what categories, are these, bots getting deployed? Is it across all the categories, or are there still apprehension from, a few categories, product categories? I mean, like, in the deploying of these bots, especially on Instagram.
When you say product categories, you mean vertical or by horizontal journeys, by commerce support?
It's all mostly on the horizontal side, on the horizontal journey of the commerce.
Okay. Yeah, so I think Instagram, obviously social media is a place where, it's natural, it's organic. So currently it's been a lot on product discovery. And as you said, especially when you have a lot of questions, it's educating themselves on the product. And when you have so many queries, none of the Instagram is best suited for this. Rather than any other channel, because even other channels are not so organic to ask questions and make it much more easier to do these things. And also they're anyway following the brand, and it's a mutually self-selected group, right? Because if you're not interested, you won't be following the brand. So for them, the TG is already there, they're following them. And then you nurture the TG and grow the TG by creating more virality and creating much more interesting stories and content. And then they have DMs and all that, they click in and come in. So I think it's used a lot for product discovery and informational, answering information queries, especially when there's so much of personalization that's required and information that's required to proceed. The thing that will evolve, that we've seen in Latin America and other markets that we've seen, is that in China, you can look at China, WeChat, everything happens on WeChat, right? So from ordering a cab, way back in 2006 and 7, when I was visiting, even hailing a cab, poor thing, there was an old man standing, no cab was coming to him. I said, what's happening? Everybody's getting it. But I didn't realize that you have to be in DD, you have to be in the WeChat app with DD Dash to order cabs. So old people couldn't even get a cab because you could pay slightly higher and get the thing there. And so you do these things in the apps, but it becomes such natural to them that everything happens through WeChat, right? So, but what will happen is, as we evolve, as India does more commerce, the thing is not going to happen on desktop. In mobile, especially in emerging markets, with the smartphone adoption and the data rates is one of the cheapest in the world, a lot of things will move to the mobile, and mobile commerce is going to be huge. It's just starting now. It's going to be 10, 20, 30x. Look at the number of unicorns that are being created in India. A lot of them are fintech unicorns, right? They try to optimize, and UPI itself is expert. Now, UPI transaction value is more than credit card transaction value in India, right? And also, all the other payment forms. So these things will just evolve. These are innovations that came in just 1 or 2 years ago. So I think commerce will be the next natural thing that will happen, because now you've personalized the product to what you want. If I can do it one click, for example, WhatsApp, even before payment came, we worked with a bunch of things to create one-click bill pay that now we're doing an integration with Shopify, enabling it one of the brands. The same thing that we did, where I can just pick what I want and do everything, and then say, okay, click, right? And says pay now. And there you've abstracted everything, and you've got it'll say, when you say pay now, it'll say you want to do Google Pay, Phone Pay, any other, even WhatsApp, right? We enable that, simulate that thing. So it makes much more easier. So I think now it's in the pre-purchase journey or conversational marketing journey. But I would see it eventually going a lot into conversational commerce and purchase journeys. And post-purchase is always there. Post-purchase is the way where all the bots started, where you're saying, okay, I've got my order, as Rumi said, the biryani thing or whatever. So you say, I want to make sure simple things like order tracking. And if I'm doing some transaction, you want to confirm the transaction, so on and so forth. But I think pre-purchase is where it is now, but it'll move to purchase as we evolve very soon. And so it's conversational marketing now going to conversational commerce. But I think the killer app is going to be conversational commerce when you integrate with things like Shopify and all the other stuff, but it makes it much more easier. So
interesting. So before I come to the audience question, one question that's coming to my mind is that what are the how do you define the metrics? When you deploy these bots on your platforms, how do you set the metrics for it? Dipanshu, will begin with you first.
Metrics, mainly from a grievances standpoint is what we generally measure in terms of how many inquiries or how many complaints we've got on which channel. Whichever is the maximum is where we feel there is more engagement which needs to be built, and I think the time to respond per query, the type of query, all get segmented and then responded in that manner. We also track what are the new behaviors which we are picking up, or new queries which are forming up, where we could automate or simplify that with either tracking or real-time information to the customers. So our intention is very much to simplify and improve customer response time. That's largely what is the biggest criteria for us.
Brumi, how on all the different platforms that you have, how do you define the metrics, for these bots?
I think the one major one is the response time. I think the lead is lost or the customer is lost, the trust is lost if you take more than, say, 2 seconds to 3 seconds to reply. And I think that's the area where bot really wins over a human interaction, because there is only so much you can do. But for the basic questions, because the bot has already been trained, and we have been training the bot for a while now, it has reached to a level where it is able to understand most of the questions, the normal occurring ones, and the response time becomes a major thing. The second is for us also, we are learning a lot of things with the bot, because a lot of times you feel that you have fed all the information that you have, because that is where your customer's mind probably ends. But the bot is definitely teaching us back that these are the new kind of queries that are coming, which we had probably not realized that, okay, my customer is going to ask me that question. Have I been able to educate the customer, or have I been able to make the customer aware enough that even I'm getting questions about the difference between, say, comedogenic or non-comedogenic products? I would not believe that I have done that level of penetration in terms of awareness that I need to teach bot that. So even that becomes a very important aspect from wherever the bot that has been deployed.
Interesting. So what are the kind of metrics, Udit, you have said at HomeLane for, for the deploying of these bots?
Yeah, for me, it's leads, man. I think this needs to help me drive more leads and to qualify those leads, right? So I think it's important that we are able to capture as much information about the customer before a designer or a consultant calls them, right? So that we can create something personalized, we can create, we save time, obviously, in the whole conversation. So for me, those are the two big metrics that I would measure. Is for me, it's an acquisition. Bots would be for acquisition more than
acquisition. And finally, Soumya, in your case?
The overall matrix is obviously NPS. If we see NPS falling, we know that there's something wrong happening somewhere. One of those could be the bot misresponding to the queries. The other is the call volume that we see going down. So for a certain type of query, be it as simple as where is my order, or pending payments, or delivery timeline. If we see the order call volume going down for those kind of queries, we know that the bot is working out. and that is easily measurable almost on a daily basis. So yeah, those are the two key metrics that we deploy.
Okay. Okay. So now coming to the most common audience question that I have received, I think from 16, 18 comments that I have, what do you think, would be the future of chatbots, especially, and how would automation impact, the overall brand marketing journey? I suggest, all of you can answer the question one by one. Ravi, I'll start with you first this time.
Yeah, I think the future is great, right? It's a question like any tool. It's like how you want to use it, and it's and what stage you are, right? Even in this panel, if you look at it, Soumya has gone all the way other end. She's saying she wants to do everything on the bot. The bot is very sophisticated, everything can do. And then Rumi is getting started, collecting information. These things are, and then I think the Dipanshu and Udit are somewhere in the middle. But I think what happens is that when you the ability to use it, automation will happen with scale. And you want to be able to answer some of these things very naturally and do it. And obviously it depends on the technology, NLP and all that. But I think the trend towards interactivity is not going to go away. Trend towards personalization is not going to go away. The trend for always on is not going to go away, especially with the pandemic. In fact, India moved like 5x to 10x growth in terms of adoption of conversational journeys, because we were seeing when we have customers, we are very, most of our revenues come from Latin America and in Asia, and especially in India. And there we saw that some emerging market, like there, it was like everything was conversational. Whereas here it started off, asking simple questions and more one way. In the whole conversation, it's 75% would be one way, 25%. Now it's completely gone the other way, right? Now everything is become conversational. The reason is smartphone adoption, pandemic, and a lot of the innovation that we did. So that got everything very interactive. Personalization is very important. In fact, digitally native brands said they got 25% more revenues who adopted personalization. So that's a trend that's not going to go away. Interactivity is not going to. This is a study that McKinsey did on personalization. And so given all those trends, conversation is natural. When you want to interact with someone and get information, you have to have conversations. And when you want to scale conversations, you have to use bots and grow with it and view your knowledge base and train it and use NLP and all that stuff. So I think it's just getting started, and especially with the innovations that we have seen, and with a lot of things that are going to get innovated, especially when so much of the population in India is not banked, so much of it are tier 2, tier 3 cities, language barriers, all these things transcend. When things are graphic and very easy to use, it doesn't even matter. Even when people are educated, sometimes the level of education and level of dialect changes when you go every 100 miles, as somebody was saying. So I think with that, you have to use something that's very graphical, very rich media centric and interactive. For that, you will need, I think, so we're just getting started.
So Dipanshu, what are the kind of innovations that you would like to see with the bots in the future, in the near future? Yeah.
So I second the thought with Ravi, actually, on a lot of things. What he's saying, is something which we look forward for. I think the real innovation for us is going to be if we can focus on the core job and not conversations much, and it can be automated, let's say majority of it, 60-70%, and the focus manual intervention can be limited. So that is the eventual goal. And if we are able to see that happening in the business, then clearly the product is working. And there are multiple products which are NLP based, bots and other formats which are available, and it's still evolving. The space and the behavior is still getting captured. And harnessing social media is another integration to the next level. So in my view, still early days. Look forward for more action.
Soumya, your thoughts?
Ravi sir pretty much cleared it all. And with technology, I just feel one thing, that adoption of technology sort of scares people. As a brand, you can be convinced in a leadership role, you can be convinced that technology will really help you. But to actually drill it down to your team, to everyone actually handling that problem, that adoption of technology is actually going to help you, is sort of a barrier. And I hope that over time, we're able to sort of break that barrier sooner than later.
Great. Udit, your closing thoughts on this one?
No, absolutely, man. I think the case was well set by Ravi. I think personalization at scale Absolutely. You require it as you grow. There's no choice. I think as mentioned. Speed for sure. I think, time to response, really important, and just being available all the time. That's what customers expect. So I think that's the good thing about robots. So I think those reasons, I think I think there is obviously from a technology perspective, I think it needs to get my limited experience. I haven't seen great capabilities in vernacular. I haven't seen cross-language great capabilities. I think those things are definitely things that are going to solve themselves, but this is the future, clearly. Yeah.
Interesting. And Rumi, finally, your closing thoughts on this one?
I think I will go back to what I said right in the beginning, that I would love to see a bot which is so humanized that you can't tell the difference. I think if that happens, I am ready to get on board like right now. But I think it's gonna take some time. Because yes, training you can do all that you can do, but there is a brand language that you want your last mile person, talking the same language, exactly how you talk on any of the DMs on any platform for that matter, right? Or even if a telephonic call, there is a brand language that you want to be so consistent. And if you could teach the bot in an extent that it starts talking like your brand, I mean, nothing like it. So humanization, yes, I think that's what I would like to see.
Great, great. Thank you, Rumi. Thank you, Dipanshu. Thank you, Soumya. Thank you, Ravi. And thank you, Udit, for sharing your insights, how your brand is, using these bots, to grow and scale. Thank you very much for joining today's session.
Thank you.
Have a great evening. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.